other parties. The case of Anambra is still there. Nobody's talking about it again. The case of Omishowe, nobody's talking about it again. This is a man who was in prison, and his form was filled, signed, and cleared. Nobody's talking about it. There are so many other things that the PDP has gone into that we all have to sit down and really know whether we have a government, we have a democracy, or the government of the rich. We're running a democratic government in this country now. It is the government of the rich, for the rich, by the rich. The PDP, if you notice, all the rich men in this country are in PDP. For personal reasons, they know. The government has now said they will privatize the refinery by March next year. Who is going to buy the refinery? Is it you? Is it me? Of course it's one of them. They're going to do it themselves. They know where they're going. They know where they've started. Look at the port. Who was the chairman for the port? Who was in charge? Olabode George. Now they're saying they have dissolved the board. They will bring another person of their own caliber there. They know what they are doing. You will never see any new person within the circle. It is always one of them. They will always bring one of them there to finish the job they started. One thing we should always pray for, that I think that the fear I have personally, is that by 2007, we hope, because personally I have that fear, we hope the president will leave. We hope. Because if we don't take, the question now is, if the constitution is not going to be rewritten and for the president to have a third term, we should not underestimate the power of the president, because we run a democratic president. We have a president here who himself is democracy, who himself tells us what democracy is all about. So we should all start knowing this, that all of us should go to the pool. There's nothing we can do right now. We can pray and hope. There's little or nothing we can do. We cannot go to the streets. If we go to the street, the police is of the federal government. The federal government will tell them to go out and shoot at night. They will kill us. They hope to reduce the population. Because if not for the reduction of population, they will not be doing all these things they are doing. Because even if you are going to increase pump price, then what about the kerosene? Nobody's talking about kerosene. We're all talking about petrol. Petrol, okay, if you have a car, you must be comfortable, good. But what about kerosene? Kerosene is for the poorest set of people. Nobody's talking about that. Some few months ago, 2-3 years ago, Mr. President came on here. He was told that Gary was becoming too expensive. He said there were too many people eating Gary. So we should all start knowing all these things. These things are not, they didn't start now. They've been there. And one thing I want most people, Nigerians to understand, to always remember is that President Obasanjo is a general. Generals don't die. Generals don't retire. They die. If you go into the military, if you attain the level of a general, if there is a war, they will call you back if they need you. And you will put on your full regalia as a general. They don't die. So he is still a general in the Nigerian army. If a colonel, a lieutenant, or a colonel, or any angle of the military who is still in service, sees him today, he gives him a full salute, because he is still a general, and he will always be a general. He collects his full salary, he has his full ADC, he has everything as a general. So we should always remember that he is a general, he will always be a general, and he will die being a general. So for us not to say that he's dictating or something is just him. That is his person. He's a person that will not listen to you and will not listen to anybody. So one thing then he is always talking about reformation, this, reformation, that. Okay, thank you. He talked about reformation. If he's reforming anything, Operation Feed the Nation is supposed to be for Nigerians. Where is Operation Feed the Nation today? Obasanjo wants to make name. He wants to leave the place and let people come and say, this is Obasanjo's work. This was what Obasanjo did. When he came back, if you remember, he was saying Ajakuta still was done in his own time. That now, when he left there, they didn't do anything again. When again he said the Nigerian Airways was when he was there, that he brought Nigerian Airways. He wants to always come back and want to be a Lord, a Messiah. That's what he wants.
Well, Prince Godemo,
yes.
You made mention of a point in the course of your comment, contribution to this issue,
Yes.
that we should not take to the street like Tina, who called from Ogudu, did say.
Yes.
Now, what will your advice would do at this critical time in our political history?
The only thing we can do as Nigerians is to hope and pray. Because if we go to the streets, we will only shorten our own lives. The man will not listen to us. We are not running democracy yet. We're still in a transitional program. We should not live, we should live to see tomorrow, not live to end it today. If by 2007 we happen to have another government, okay, then we can know that, hey, if we move to the street and we tell our president, our government, this is what we want, this is what we do, they might buy it. But for now, they will not buy it. He will not see us. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about whatever happens to us. This is a man that said petrol has not gotten to the price of a bottle of Ragoni's water some 3 years ago. They said petrol was expensive. He said, how much is Ragoni's water, how much is petrol? The petrol is still 20, that is not 26 naira. Said petrol is still 26 naira, Ragonis is 70 naira, and people still take Ragonis. How many people take Ragonis? And when he was going to pick somebody for PT or something, he chose Rashid Badamos, who is the chairman of Ragonis.
Well, Prince Ogudemo, you seem to have an in-depth knowledge of political scene. Will you be my guest tomorrow, even if you won't appear on my program? But at least on that program, at least let's still discuss with you in-house. Can you be our guest tomorrow?
Okay, what time would that be, please?
Just be here for 12 o'clock. And we'll now discuss at length and know where we can arrange you on the program, please.
Okay, no problem.
I will expect you call, please.
All right, I will.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you very much. Well, an exhaustive one. The man seems to have an in-depth knowledge of the situation. Did all the points he raised. I mean, he seems to have put all those because in sweat. He was, how do we put he said to the man and the PDP politics like he ties? But let's call now.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
The state governors, because we should have a federal government.
Thank you for joining us. It's still the Craig and Oyetheru segment of the New Edition show for this Tuesday afternoon. And my colleague, my partner, Abafemi Craig, is still here. We're both here.
Right, thank you for staying with us. But before we flag up the second segment, let me just quickly take this breaking news again. And this is to announce the death of the former Federal Commissioner for Health in Nigeria, the person of Alhaji Gafaru Tinubu. The remains of the former Federal Commissioner for Health, Alhaji Gafaru Tinubu, will be laid to rest at 4 p.m. this afternoon at the Okesimo Cemetery in Lagos. Since 12 noon today, his body has been lying in state at his residence at Isiola Oyekon Street off Kufua Bayomi in Victoria Island. And at 3 p.m. today, it will be moved to the family. His body will be moved to the Tinubu family house at Kakawa Street in Lagos, where it will also be laid in state. And at 4 p.m. there will be prayers at the Anwarul Islam Mosque at Freeman Street in Lagos, to be followed by his interment. The late Alhaji Gafaru Tinubu, an uncle to the Lagos State Governor, His Excellency Ashiwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was a retired commissioner of police and a legal practitioner. He passed on at St. Nicholas Hospital in Lagos after a brief illness. He is survived by his wife, Alhaja Tinubu, and children, including Mr. Wali Tinubu, the managing director, Unipetro PLC. And according to Deji Tinubu, the family will make further announcements later. Again, we commiserate with the entire family and pray that Almighty Allah will grant the dead Al-Jannah. Well, we'll now take on the issue for today, as we'll be talking about the issue of resource control. You will agree with me, like my colleague did say, in the course of time, that this is one controversial issue that is still plaguing our political scene to date. And as at now, as at today, so to say, the National Assembly is on the issue of revenue allocation formula, which of course is a fallout of the issue of resource control, or an extension, so to say, of the issue on resource control. So that is why it's a great pleasure to have in the house here this afternoon a political analyst, the person of Adebayo Adeolu, as our guest today to talk about the issue of resource control.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you in the house.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure my colleague is also saying
Yes.
Thank you very
Pleasure
much.
for
Thank you for inviting me over.
Yes.
Okay, before now, this is an issue we've been talking about, and I was only thrilled with the way he has presented the case. Like he said, the issue of resource control that he's going to talk about has never been discussed the way he's going to talk about it. So we actually want to say, so what is so special about what he wants to say from what we have been hearing? And that is why we now say, okay, you come around and let us share this view together. So once again, let's thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And let's now say, how do you see this issue of resource control? And what makes it special? The way you want to say it, that has not been said, the way others have been saying it.
Well, the issue of resource control in Nigeria has been the minority question, really. It has been the question of the minorities in the country. From the time we got our independence, the major ethnic groups that were recognized were the Hausa, Fulani, the Igbos, and the Yorubas. But the minority groups had been left out. They have not been treated equally as the other ethnic groups because they see them as a minority group in the society. And this has led to the aggression for resource control because their areas have been neglected. They have not developed their areas over the years, even though the oil, which has brought about resource control, that comes from the Niger Delta, is 95% of Nigeria's external earnings. But despite this fact, the people of the Niger Delta are left in squalor, poverty, and the areas are degraded by the oil companies through oil spillage. And nothing, development has been done over the years to that area particularly. So I think that is what has called for the agitation for resource control over the years. It has started up with Mosop, really. It came up with Sarowiwa. He was the one that really projected the issue of resource control recently, apart from when Adaka Borough in the 60s, 65, had discussed it initially. But I would say that resource control is a non-issue particularly in Nigeria. The problem with the country, I feel, is good leadership. Resource control would never have come up if everybody in the society was allowed to have a shot at the presidency, if every ethnic group was given a free chance to contest and win an election in the country. But over the years, since independence, it seems that it's been the North that has ruled for 36 years, and then the South through Obasanjo, and maybe with Azikwe in the East briefly as president, with Baliwa government being at the head at the time. So I think that is where the problem is. But the agitation for resource control, those who are calling out for resource control at this point in time, the governors of the Niger Delta region, they saw the constitution when they were contesting the elections, and they knew the position that you can never have 100% resource control in a federation like Nigeria. It's not possible. So the call for resource control by the governors and they flog the issue on and on, I think is more of a class act. Who is going to benefit from it? Are the people benefiting? If we look at the 13% that the federal government had awarded to the Niger Delta state, you will see that there is not much development. The resources have been mismanaged and priorities placed wrongly. I noticed that some governors had bought shares in Econet, but for whose idea and for whose interest? The people's interest or for a directorship? Whose interest really? I felt that that money, well, I read it somewhere, for the 9 billion naira had been invested in that. I felt that if that had been used to create employment through small-scale industries, that would have eased up the tension. If that had been used for infrastructural development in the Niger Delta, it would have reduced the tension. Resource control cannot work in Nigeria, however, because if you look at it,